So now, rather than having you write discovery intention, what I'd like you to do is take out a big stack of 3x5 cards, and on one item per card, I'd like you to write down celebrations. And so these are celebrations you currently have and ones you maybe don't have yet, but you want to have. But primarily that you're really celebrating. I want you to write down celebrations. I'd like you to write down one per card. I'm going to give you a few ideas here, but if anything comes to mind, just write it down. It's like, wow, I enjoy that. Like running water. I mean, man, put that one down, because some of you just take it for granted. And, you know, walking around where millions of people do not have running water, that really reminded me how cool running water is. It's really great. And it's really cheap. It's amazing that the poorest people on the planet, the billion poorest people on the planet, have to buy their water, and it costs them way more than we pay for our water. Amazing. And they get way less of it. So what do you know, write down a celebration. And then take a card and write down another one, and put these celebrations on the middle of the card. So if this is the card, of course you're going to put it vertically, and you're going to put the celebration right there. And if you really celebrate it, you can put an A up in the upper right-hand corner, because it's an A priority. You really celebrate it. You're so glad for it. Policemen. Oh man, I'm so glad for policemen. Poorest of the poor, who are subject to more crime than the rest of us by far, have no policemen. Police aren't going to go into this. They just don't go there. They don't go into the urban slums. 1 billion people on Earth. Almost 20% of the world's population lives in urban slums with no policemen. Wow. So you might want to, what are you thrilled about? Now you've probably already remembered, but I'm here to help you think what you never thought, so be sure and put down some people to name there. Some people that you're really celebrating. You could even write on that card their name and then a couple of the really big things you like about them. And be sure and write down a few things you celebrate about yourself also as you're thinking about celebrations. We got a lot more cards, by the way, so if you're a fast writer, you can fill up 100 celebration cards. No problem, we got more. So write down a few things you're celebrating about yourself. Write down something you celebrate about your relatives. Think about your relatives and find one you really like. It's real easy to celebrate. All right, now I want to stretch your mind a little bit and ask that you celebrate some things that are difficult to celebrate, but you find the celebration in them. So, for example, yesterday about somewhere in excess of 25,000 children died because they didn't have enough to eat. Now, it's hard to imagine, but it's true. I know you didn't read about it in the paper. It's because it happens every day. But every day, about 25,000 children die a slow and painful death because they don't have enough to eat on a planet that has more than enough food. Now, that's just a fact. Now, how could we possibly celebrate that? What possible celebration could I find in that? And lots of them, by the way. First of all, that it's down about 30% from 20 years ago. So, wow, I'm glad for that. Secondly, I'm glad that I know so many people who are working to eradicate that and drive it lower. And third, I'm really glad that I know it. And that I wake up every day and there's not a day, hardly a day goes by that I don't feel it and think about it and deepen my commitment to end it. Because I just don't think that 25,000 children should die every day from not enough food on a planet that has more than enough food. I'm just thinking, oh, that's just a mistake, right? We're letting that happen. I know some of you don't even think we're letting it happen. You just think you don't have anything to do with it. But I think you're letting it happen. And I'm so glad to know it and to take responsibility for it. So I'm really celebrating the fact that I know that 25,000 children die every day from malnutrition and generally starvation, and I'm glad that so many people are working on it, and I'm glad it's gotten better, and I'm celebrating all of that. So those are, that's what I'm asking you to do now, is to find something that's hard for you to celebrate and find the celebration in it. I do this every morning when I pick up the newspaper. Because you know, the newspaper is full of bad news. I mean, that's really its job. Some people complain about it. I celebrate it. I'm glad that somebody's out there looking for the worst that's happening on the planet. Because I want to know. I want to know how bad that volcano was. I want to know how bad that earthquake was. I want to know. I want to know. And so every morning I pick up the newspaper and I look and I see the worst that happened yesterday. And I think, wow, I'm so glad that was the worst, because it could have been a lot worse than that. So now, I want you to give it a shot. Find something that for you might be hard to celebrate and see if you can find a celebration in it. Maybe you just found out that you have cancer. You think, well, I'm not going to celebrate that. Well, I would if I were you. Man, I want to know if I have cancer. I want to know as soon as possible. If I found out yesterday, I'm going to celebrate that it wasn't today, because I found out yesterday. I mean, I don't, by the way. But I did, but it's gone. But I was so glad I found it, because it went away with just a little tiny nip of a scalpel. Boy, then I celebrated Novocaine, because I went to the dermatologist, and it was on my nose right there. You can see him. I got a little flat nose, and it was just a little tiny pimple. But he said, you know, we got to take that off because pretty sure it's cancerous. And I said, well, okay, go ahead. And he said, well, I got to numb you first. I said, I hate Novocaine. I hate Novocaine. Don't numb me. Just take it off. It's tiny. There's nothing there. It's like a tiny, tiny piece of skin. I said, just take it off. He said, no, that's going to hurt. I said, just take it off. He said, okay. Whoa, that really, really, really hurt. I almost passed out. I was so glad for Novocaine. Then he found out it was cancerous. He came back, and then he says, we got to take some more. And I said, good, give me some Novocaine. I love Novocaine. So now I have a flat nose. All right, find something. I'm going to hear from you in a minute now. This is an exercise, by the way. This is an exercise in celebrating that which is difficult to celebrate, or finding a celebration within it. All right, let me hear a few. Particularly some of the ones that I want you to practice celebrating something maybe that you are a little surprised that you can celebrate. So give me some new ones. Peter, go ahead.
So I have to celebrate the Great Recession because in the luxury retail business, it's been incredible source of anxiety and suffering, and but also tremendous growth. You know, I don't know, almost a year ago, I committed to actually selling the business. Of course, nobody wants to buy a business in the middle of this recession. But it's forced me to take a really deeper, closer look at my life and me and what I'm committed to, my family, my marriage, everything. And I think I know it's made me stronger, and it's connecting me to really my true life's work. I just know that. And this whole year of 2010 has been to get clear about my life's work. Yeah. So thank you, Great Recession.
Yeah. Wow, really good, Peter. That's the idea. A friend of mine lost all his money to Bernie Madoff. He had worked for years and years and saved, and he and his wife had put this money away, and they just about had their nest egg so they could retire. They had it all with Bernie Madoff, and they lost it all. And he started a speaking circuit saying that Bernie Madoff stole my money but not my life. And he talks about the joy and the celebration of losing all his money. Now, of course, if he had had it to do over again, he wouldn't have invested it with Bernie, because Bernie Madoff lived up to his name. He made off with all of it. But what's the celebration? Go ahead.
Okay, I'm losing my hair, and it's been devastating because for a woman, and being bald is very, very hard. So with this one, I'm going to buy a big wig, and maybe I'm going to become a redhead or a blonde. So.
Yeah, there you go. We don't celebrate the cancer. We don't celebrate all of that, but we celebrate what came with it and what's integral to it. Yeah, just that's the example. Thanks a lot. Go ahead.
The HIV/AIDS epidemic in the world, is particularly in the developing world, it's obvious, it's clear that you can't legislate sexual interaction. You know, you can't have a policeman in every bedroom. So I'm celebrating that it's the possibility of a partnership, 100% between men and women finding their voice and actually saying no or yes and having a choice, community support for people who are positive, and what's also showing up is alternative methods of healing. But it's coming from the individual and then the community. It's very exciting.
Great. All right, so you got it.